Good day to you and welcome to Studio 5 Uncut. Here we have the chance to share extended conversations with some of the great guests we've had on Studio 5 throughout the weeks. And this week we're sitting down with best-selling author Annie F. Downs. She shows us that when it comes to fun, no one knows how to have fun like children do. But these days, even they can use some fresh ideas for finding the fun in their lives. And that's where she comes in, helping them with a new book. She's helping them find joy with What Sounds Fun to You. All right, great to talk to you again. I had no clue you were a teacher.
Yes, can you believe it? People
Not that
left
that's
me in
a
charge
surprise.
of their children's lives. Yes. 100% true. I got to teach elementary school for 5 years. I did 2 years of 5th grade and 3 years of 4th grade. So I always stayed in that higher elementary world, but I loved it.
So it's only natural that you would write a children's book then.
Yes.
Tell me what gave birth to this book.
Well, Ephraim, what happens a lot when I ask adults, you and I had this conversation when That Sounds Fun came out a few months ago. When I talk to adults and I say, tell me what sounds fun to you, they always start with, in fact, you did it. I've never forgotten your answer. They always start with, oh, I don't know if anybody else is going to think this is fun, or I don't know about this. You may not like this. And there's this tiny bit of shame attached to our grown-up fun. And it's because when we were kids on the playground, there was one thing that was cool and everything else wasn't cool. And so we started learning, well, whatever I think is fun needs to go in the back seat compared to what everyone else says is cool. And so then when we started thinking about, I ask everybody, because the show is called That Sounds Fun when I have them on the podcast, what sounds fun to you? I thought we should ask kids what sounds fun to them in hopes that we will teach them, man, the way God made you is great. The way you are is just fine. You don't need to like what everybody else likes. Just like what you like. And so that's kind of our hope with this book, is that kids will see themselves in it and see this opportunity they have to really appreciate the way they were uniquely made.
Now, you said to ask kids. Have you heard from kids what sounds fun?
Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. Okay, so most of the kids in the book are kids I actually know. The illustrator, Jenny Poe, is incredible, and I sent her pictures of all these kids that are in my real life, and she illustrated them into the book. So on the cover is me in the center, and then my friend Kiki with her little hair buns, and then my friend Sam on the other side of me. Those are real kids. So the fun thing was, Ephraim, they didn't know. I had gotten permission from their parents, but the kids didn't know. And so I brought them all into our podcast studio, and I sat them down, and I said, does that person look familiar to you? And their eyes would light up, and I'd say, I think that's you. And they would say, I love playing soccer. I'm playing soccer in this book. I love playing soccer. And so that's one of the great things about what Jenny did as the illustrator, and what we did when we created this book together, is I wanted every kid to see a kid who kind of looks like them, whether it's an ability level or a hair color or a skin color or a thing they love to do. So we have kids of all different skin tones. We have kids with hearing aids and wheelchairs, glasses, and we've got kids playing outside. We've got kids reading books. We've got kids in the garden climbing a tree. We just wanted kids to find themselves everywhere and go because here's what's true about you and me too when we read fiction, is that if we can see ourselves in the story, we believe the lesson of the story. And so I wanted every kid that picks this book up to see themselves somewhere so that they believe the book.
Our conversation with Annie F. Downs is just getting started. Stay with us. You are also had been taking time reading a children's book.
Yes.
Okay. Online?
On Instagram. Here's what happened. So because I'm not married yet, I don't have kids yet, I spend a lot of time with my peers' kids. I call them my mini BFFs. I didn't know, Ephraim, when my friends had children, they were giving me new friends. I didn't know. I have this whole new generation of friends that are stuck with me because I'm friends with their parents. And so in real life, before the pandemic started, I would read books to kids all the time in my real life. And so then the lockdown happens in March of 2020, and I start reading to kids on FaceTime because their parents are like, will you just please read a book? And so then I'm doing like 5 a night, Ephraim. And I'm like, this is dumb. I should do this on Instagram and they can all just watch. And so I did that. And we started doing it every night of the lockdown. I would just read a picture book. It was 20 minutes. And we were having 20,000 devices tune in. So can you imagine a school teacher who used to read to 25 kids a day? Suddenly I'm reading to 20 to 30,000 kids every night. And so it's just stayed. We call it the Mini BFF Book Club. We do it now we just do it one night a week, not every night of the week, but every Monday night, we read a picture book on Instagram Live, and still thousands of kids watch us every Monday night, whether it's me, whether it's some of our other staff people. And it is one of the sweetest things. They mail us letters. They mail us pictures that they draw. I mean, it is, and I mean, at a live event recently, I look up Ephraim, and for about 20 yards is a little guy in glasses running. He's probably 4. He is running full tilt at me. And I'm like, there's like a signing line. There's like all these grown-ups in line, and here comes this kid and just grabs onto my legs. And his mom is like, I'm so sorry. He just feels like y'all are friends because he sees you every Monday night on Instagram. And of course, I'm like, yes, of course. But it was the sweetest thing. So our hope with What Sounds Fun to You is that all these kids who already feel like we're friends will get to hold a book, and we'll read it together on Mini BFF Book Club for sure. And then kids who don't know me yet, whether it's in public schools, we worked really hard to make sure this book would fit in public school libraries, whether it's in classrooms or homes or given at a baby shower, that this is a book that all sorts of kids will, and grown-ups, will have a real good time thinking back about what sounds fun to them.
Now, we know that you've written an adult book and now you've written a kid's book. Any difference in the approach? Which is harder to do?
I mean, I almost want to put the question back to you and be like, what do you think would be harder? I would love to know your thoughts. They're hard. They're easy for different reasons, and they're hard for different reasons, right? My adult nonfiction, like That Sounds Fun, it's hard because I'm spilling my guts. You know, like I'm telling some memoir, you know, there's some hard stories from my life and some things that God has really taught me. But man, to fit a whole book into 32 pages, it's really hard too, because you have to leave out things, and you have to care about the reading level of the words. I don't really care about that when I'm writing for adults, but I really care. I mean, that's part of my education background, is I wanted to make sure the pictures were diverse and the words were the appropriate reading level. And so it tapped into a side of my brain. I haven't taught school in a decade. And so it tapped into this side of my brain of like, is that a second grade reading level word? And, you know, so they're hard for different reasons, but they're also so joyful for different reasons. And I'm thrilled that this book turned out as beautiful as it did. I tell people all the time, judge the book by the cover. Jenny did such a beautiful job illustrating it. Please judge it by its cover.
Have you been able to sample or have any kids read it yet?
Yes, I sat down and read it to some kids for the first time of last week, because I just got them in my hands last week. And then I went over to one of the little girls that's in the book. She has a top knot in the book. She read it to me. And oh, exactly. I mean, you should have seen me. I was trying not to like puddle on her. I just had little tears as she's like sounding out words. And I mean, it's been really beautiful to kind of see it and to see it come to life for them in a way where then we have these conversations about like, hey, if you were in this picture, what sounds fun to you? And then you turn the page and now it's a swimming pool, and you turn the page and now it's out playing sports outside, and you turn the page and it's a garden, and you turn the page and it's a circus. And so you get to have a different conversation on every page, which, as you know me, I mean, we've been friends long enough. I love talking about anything. So getting to talk to these kids about each of these pages was such a joy. It was such a joy.
Now, if you're looking for more to read from Annie F. Downs, you want to also check out That Sounds Fun. It's a bestseller she released earlier this year. Right now, we hope you'll stick around as she shares more from her children's book, What Sounds Fun to You. We'll be right back. What lessons do you think we adults can pull from a book like this and kids, period?
I mean, isn't it the truth that when we read picture books to kids, suddenly we're the ones? I mean, it's why people can't get through Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when they're reading it to their kids, because of what the story means to us when we see Aslan save the day, right? And so for me, I think my hope is that as grown-ups are reading this with kids, whether it's in in their churches or in their classrooms or in their homes or with the kids in the neighborhood is that the parents are also going, I miss doing that. I miss, there's a page with a grandmother and a granddaughter, and the grandmother looks so much like my grandmother. And I don't even know that Jenny meant to do that as the illustrator, but so even on that page, I have this moment of pause and go, man, I miss my grandmother. What a beautiful memory. How can I be that kind of voice in some other people's lives, even though I'm not a parent or a grandparent yet? And so there's moments like that, but also us just, I think of you and leading your little choir, right? Like
yes.
in the neighborhood, right? And there's a whole page about singing and about instruments. And so I just go, man, are there going to be people who like have a really good memory of the instrument they used to play? Or the thing or even there's a page that it's probably my favorite illustrated page of looking up at the stars. I'm like, man, what if everybody just finished the book and looked outside and saw what was up there and what God had made. And so that's my hope. And man, we have so much to learn from kids, don't we? They just, if they love you, they run towards you, right? If they love you, they run towards you. And so it's just things like that I go, man, if I love someone, I should just run towards them. I should just run towards them. And so I feel like I'm forever learning from the kids in my life.
Yeah, I think as adults, we're all trying to find that childhood again. What is it about our lives you think that separates us so when we do get to this point from that childhood?
Yeah. Well, for me, what I think it could be pain. It's pain for anybody. I mean, a lot of grown-ups would say, I just have so much responsibility and I don't have time for fun anymore. But the truth is, you make time for whatever makes you feel healthy. And what separates us from what makes us feel healthy is our pain. And so whether it's loss or disappointment or frustration or feeling overwhelmed, separating yourself from fun is a protection thing of like, well, back then when it was simple, everything was fun, and then I got hurt, and then it got hard. So I can't go back to that because I know if that's step one, I know what step two is, and we're afraid to do that. And so one of my life goals is let's get fun back. Let's take that risk. Let's be that vulnerable to sit with kids and talk about it, to read this book to them, to read along and to have this moment of like, yeah, that was really fun. I miss my grandmother. Can it be a yes and, Ephraim, right? Like, yes, I miss my grandmother and I love that memory. It doesn't have to be, yes, I miss my grandmother, but we're fine. And that's life goes on. We just here in my coworkers and I, we've kind of removed the word but, and we use and. We just use and. Like it's very rarely either or, it's usually yes and.
And stay with us for a final word from podcaster Annie F. Downs when we come back. Is this the life you envision for yourself?
Oh, gosh, I can't imagine that. Anybody would say that. I'm 41, and I can't. If you would have told me at 21 what 41 would have looked like, I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't have told you that I quit dyeing my hair. I dyed my hair a ton in college. I wouldn't have told you I quit dyeing my hair. But, I'm 41, not married yet, no kids yet, and doing a job that I didn't think I was doing. I'd have told you at 21 I was going to teach elementary school forever. I was going to get married, have a bunch of kids, and live in a small town for my whole life. And just about every one of those things is not true. So I need to stay away from betting on sporting events because I don't bet right. But what you know is true from your life, I know is true from my life too, is God has written a better story. God has written a better story than I could have come up with. I would not trade one day of this for what I thought I wanted. And it's taken me a while to feel that. There have been times where I've gone, if I got a magic potion, if there was a genie, and I would trade. And I'm telling you, I don't feel that anymore. I think, man, this is better, harder, stranger, wilder, and richer than I ever could have imagined. And if I can trust God 0 to 41, I can trust God 41 to 101. So
I love it. I'll end with your question. What sounds fun to you?
Thank you for asking. I love when my friends ask me, well, what sounds fun to me today? I'm a huge sports fan. I love, and I grew up in the state of Georgia, and we are kind of doing great right now between football and the Braves baseball. So what sounds fun to me is going to a sporting event. And also maybe you feel this too, Ephraim, but like so much of my life and my job is like working really hard to see the gospel go forward. I want to see everyone meet Jesus. Like, let's meet Jesus. When you go to a sporting event, you get to yell and put all that energy towards something you cannot control. And have no, like, it just is so good for me to like yell. So I need to go to a sporting event and just yell it out.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Always a joy to talk to you. And all the best for the book. I know kids are going to love it. Adults too, though.
Thank you, friend. I'm so glad to see you. What sounds fun to me today is also getting to talk to you. So what a highlight.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Studio 5 Uncut. Until next time, make time to uplift someone else. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.